Greetings everyone, my name is Jacob Ochieng, student ID number SJACOC, taking a course in Issues Development Studies, course code which is HIST 119. So today I'm going to take you through a topic that is food situation in Africa and why Africa is not food secure. So quick to this is that, a brief overview is that Africa as a continent that is has a vast agricultural land and we have a lot of population. Yet some of the countries in Africa face a lot of food challenges in that, based on the reports that I've collected, the food situation in Africa is currently facing unpredictable challenges with approximately 282 million people, roughly 20% of the population, undernourished. This represents a significant increase of 57 million people since the COVID-19 pandemic. Here is a keynote on the food situation in Africa based on the recent literature. So the current state and trend is that we have worsening hunger. The continent is not on track to meet sustainable development goals. That is the goal of 2030, where we have target to end the hunger by 2025. We have acute food insecurity. In the year 2023, roughly around 315 million people were experiencing severe food insecurity. We have regional disparity. While Northern Africa is generally more worse in food secure, we have East and Central Africa face several food shortages, with over 61 million people food insecure in East Africa alone. The other point is that we have child malnutrition. Over 30% of African children are stunted due to inadequate nutrition. So we have main drives of food insecurity in Africa. Conflict. This is the primary drive, which with around 130 million people facing acute food insecurity in Africa due to the rise of conflict. A good explanation is that places in Africa like the deserted area, where we have people fighting over land issues, people fighting over cultural and different issues, people get into conflict, and these really affect the food in Africa. We have climate changes. Extreme climate conditions like drought, floods, and even irreliable rains promote Africa insecurity in food. So when we have a lot of drought in Africa, we find it really impossible to address the food situation in Africa, because when we have drought, we lack crops that can really sustain the drought conditions. When we have a lot of floods, we experience places where we cannot plant our crops because there's a lot of water and the waters have eroded the soils. The next point is the economic downturns. Inflation and high food pricing, and after the effect of COVID-19, has reduced purchasing power. So people really rely deeply on import dependence. So despite having over 60% of the African uncultivated arable land, Africa imports over 43 billion worth of food annually. So we have structural and policies challenges. Low agricultural productivity, crop yield have not kept pace with population growth, often lagging behind for decades. Underinvestment. Only about 3% of total development funding is allocated to the food sector, despite the high need to have food in Africa. We have smallholders' vulnerability. Over 70% of food insecurity population lives in rural areas, and many are small household farmers. So quickly to the key solution and future outlooks, we need to invest in agriculture, boosting the agricultural productivity through technology and sustainable practices. We need to have intra-African trades where we have increased trade between net food exporting and importing countries. We need to have policy reforms, improving food security through better governance, reducing food wastage, and strengthening the local food value chains. We have reliance building. We need to enhance the capacity of the community to withstand climate shocks and economic downturns. Africa is not food secure primarily due to low agricultural productivity. Climate changes induce drought and conflicts that disrupt food system, leaving around 282 million people undernourished. So over 90% of farming is small scale and rain fed, lacking modern inputs and infrastructure. This is compounded by rapid population growth, poverty, and economic volatility. So key drives of food security in Africa, just as we've stated, are among those, and therefore as a continent we need to invest in modern agricultural technologies to solve all these food situation and food insecurity in Africa. That is the end of my discussion, and we've come to the end of the video. Thank you.